In today's video, I discuss why all fruits and vegetables are so bad for you. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, just a quick reminder before I jump into the video that I'm now offering the SIBO, organic acid, stool tests and consult via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video. So everywhere you turn on social media these days, there is an endless supply of laughable blog posts and YouTube videos showing an apparent dark side of fruits and vegetables, those anti-nutrients. So since Jordan Peterson's infamous appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, I have lost count on the number of anti-vegan channels and publications who push stupid headlines like kale has a dark side, as it has compounds that interfere with the production of thyroid hormones. But these headlines and assertions are nothing more than theories, as every credible publication in the world shows that when you cook vegetables, most of the anti-nutrient compounds are largely destroyed, and I will delve into this more in a short while. So let's take kale for example. So even for people who consume very large amounts of kale, these thyroid interfering anti-nutrients would not even remotely be a problem unless you had an existing thyroid disorder in conjunction with an iodine deficiency. In addition, there is not any shred of evidence, other than a few animal studies, that show that these anti-nutrients in kale can impede your thyroid function. And in fact, if you were to extrapolate the toxic doses of these animal studies into humans, then a person would have to be consuming upwards of 7 to 10 pounds of kale per day, in addition to having a very low iodine intake. But as the carnivore and keto communities will tell you, the controversy doesn't stop there with kale and goitrogens. There are literally dozens of anti-nutrients in plants that are doing you harm and robbing you of nutrition. So do these claims have any substance to them, or are they nothing more than fear-mongering? So in the scientific literature, an anti-nutrient is a scientific term used to refer to compounds in foods such as oxalates that have the ability to inhibit the assimilation and absorption of key nutrients that the body needs. So the issue is that while these anti-nutrients can indeed affect a small proportion of people due to underlying health issues and gut issues, anti-nutrient is a scary sounding word that is creeping into our everyday vocabularies, and it's ripe for exploitation by people who want to sell you dreams and books. So let's just hear what someone like Dr. Shawn Baker has to say about anti-nutrients.
A lot of interactions that we don't know anything about, and there's a lot of compounds in there besides that also cause problems. Not to mention the issues with fiber that a lot of people have. So in net, there really is no concrete, absolute proof that fruits and vegetables are of any use to our diet. Antioxidants, exogenous antioxidants, when they're given to us either in food, plant form, or in vitamin supplement form, have been shown to be very ineffective at doing anything.
It's actually hysterical, the warped world in which he lives in, and it's based on nothing more than animal studies, because that's the extent of his evidence. So Shawn Baker is pushing for a world in which food packaging labels look like this. But let's get back to reality and show you exactly where the evidence lies. So there are literally hundreds of different compounds within foods that could be labelled as an anti-nutrient. So the common ones associated with fruits and vegetables include phytic acid, lignans, saponins, phytoestrogens, and also oxalates. But if we're having an honest conversation here, it's not just fruits and vegetables that contain anti-nutrients. Uric acid is an anti-nutrient found in meat, organ meats, eggs, dairy, as well as some vegetables and legumes. But the anti-nutrient brigade don't like talking about this, do they? And they don't like talking about the anti-nutrient avidin found in eggs that binds to a number of B vitamins and inhibits their absorption. But again, carnivore and keto communities don't like talking about this, do they? And they also don't like talking about the anti-nutrients which are purines, which are found in high amounts in many different animal products. And what do purines inhibit and bind to? Iron. Now, I could literally go on and on with the anti-nutrients found in animal products, as could many meat eaters discuss the anti-nutrients found in fruits and vegetables, but this is an irrelevant discussion. The only time this conversation is relevant is at the point at which you eat the food. So after you have processed and cooked the food, what is the anti-nutrient potential of that food at that particular point? So for example, we know that soaking beans in water for 24 hours can reduce lectins by 40 to 50%, tannins by 15 to 25%, and protease inhibitors by around 30%. So when I buy my organic red kidney beans that have already been cooked and then soaked in water before I then cook them again, how many lectins, tannins and protease inhibitors are left in those kidney beans? Bearing in mind the point at which I boil or pressure cook them, then the protease inhibitors are reduced by an additional 70%, lectins by up to 80% and tannins by up to 69%. So if you genuinely believe that there is any significant amounts of anti-nutrients left in the kidney beans by the time that I or anyone else eats them, then quite frankly, you are an idiot. And this is generally the same across the board. So because of cooking methods, soaking methods, fermentation methods, sprouting methods, and alternative heating methods, very low amounts of these so-called anti-nutrients remain in our foods. The same cannot often be said for those on raw vegan diets that often eat much higher amounts of these so-called anti-nutrients in their diets, which is in part why I think a lot of these raw vegan advocates fail on that diet, but this is a topic for another video. Now, what about the anti-nutrient content of animal products after cooking? So for example, 7% ground beef, there was no significant change in the total purine content or change in any of the individual purine bases after grilling or sauteing. Also, studies highlighting the pathogenic mechanisms for uric acid point to an inflammatory response as the primary mechanism for inducing gout and possibly contributing to uric acid's vascular effects. Monosodium urate crystals induce an inflammatory reaction which are recognized by toll-like receptors. These toll-like receptors then activate NALP3 inflammasome. Monosodium urate also triggers neutrophil activation and further produces immune mediators which lead to pro-inflammatory response. So essentially, high amounts of uric acid induces inflammatory pathways in the body. So if the carnivore and keto communities are going to bash the anti-nutrients of fruits and vegetables, then they shouldn't really throw stones in glass houses. Especially when the cooking methods tend to reduce levels of anti-nutrients in fruits and vegetables more compared to the cooking methods in meat-based products. The negativity inherent in the term anti-nutrient is misleading, and that's exactly why the carnivore and keto dieters use it. I am absolutely opposed to using the word altogether, especially outside of the scientific community, because these compounds also have incredible health benefits. In many cases, they're the very same components that are thought to give beans, lentils, whole grains, vegetables and fruits their well-documented disease-fighting powers. In fact, you may know these anti-nutrients by another name, so phytonutrients, the highly prized health-boosting compounds that we celebrate in whole foods. And remember those glucosinolates, they're the same compounds that are believed to give cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage and of course kale their cancer-fighting properties. And phytic acid found in high amounts in beans and whole grains may help lower blood sugar, cholesterol and also triglyceride levels. In fact, increased levels of phytonutrients in addition to high fibre diets is likely one of the reasons that eating whole grains may help reduce heart disease risk. Now, there may be special circumstances in which avoiding anti-nutrient type compounds in foods may be warranted, but it's not for the reasons that you might think. So for example, people who get kidney stones, specifically calcium oxalate stones, are typically advised to limit high oxalate foods to reduce their risk occurrence. But for the rest of us, we don't need to think twice about those so-called anti-nutrients. As long as you eat a varied diet of nutrient-rich whole foods and you let your gut do its job and you don't take things like antibiotics, then you'll get all the ingredients that you need to keep your body humming along. So you can go ahead and cross anti-nutrients off your health worry list and focus on more important things like whether you want your kale sauteed or steamed at dinner tonight. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.